All right, Jeremy. We have about 14 people in our session so far right now. I will continue to admit those people. Hello, everybody. This is Jeremy McGuire, and he is going to be working with us today. He is a digital arts teacher over at Crawford Middle School. He is constantly doing something really cool with technology, and today he's going to show you how to use WeVideo. So, Jeremy, it's all yours. Jeremy's sharing
All
his
right.
screen right now.
Thank you, Jerry, for co-hosting. I appreciate everybody showing up. Just a quick note, these are the things that we're going to go over with WeVideo. Me personally at Crawford, we use this quite a bit each day for creative instruction, Google integration, and then obviously screencasting. So some of you all have used Screencastify. This will take the place of that with a whole lot more. So currently with the education pricing, it's like $10 a license. So that's for a year. So it would behoove you probably to do that. So let's get started. I'm going to go through this PowerPoint or this Google slide, if you will, and just kind of walk you through some things as we go through. And I'll try not to go too fast because I know there's a ton to cover. But if there's more interest, we'll continue to do some more WeVideo trainings if we see fit. So obviously there's some screencasting that I will share with everyone. But before I begin, I'm going to go to the WeVideo screen here, and I'm going to do something that they just added, and that is recording the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and record this as well to show you all the process on how you can record your screen if you are working with slideshows or Google Docs or anything. It's, all things Google, it seems to be in education nowadays. You can record what you're doing. So in this case, like it's got me where I'm recording my screen and my audio. So I'm going to record my screen as I see it while I'm doing this training using WeVideo. So it kind of gives you a 3, 2, 1, and then it records everything on your screen, not just the WeVideo itself. So I'm going to move over back to the slide. And if you notice, I won't go into the whole process of logging in, but it's pretty simple to do. You obviously use your Google account. Students do the exact same thing. And so that's pretty much the easiest way to explain that. So I'll move on to starting with footage and creating a location for your footage. So let me move over to WeVideo. The projects that we've been working on, if you notice, you have all these folders and things like that. Typically with WeVideo, when you click on the import button, it will ask you to drag or drop media. And so you have all these different social media outlets, and obviously in education, we use Google Drive. So I will choose Google Drive to find any type of video or any type of pictures, JPEG files, PNG files, or just any type of footage you would like to put in there. So here's some folders that I have that I've used for my class. And so if I wanted to import a student video, we did a what I call a never-ending triangle using MC Escher. And so if I wanted to import that, it's very simple to import that from your Google Drive. And so if you notice that it's getting that from the external service, which is Google Drive. So that is a pretty easy way to import your files. Again, you can import any types of files, whether it be screenshots, whether it be JPEGs, still shots, PNG still shots, or MP4 videos. It will also import MOV files, which is Apple specific. So it doesn't, and a lot of times when you take pictures with your iPhone, there's an extension like a .heic file. It will also import that. So it plays nice with a lot of different types of media. So that's pretty much the easiest way to explain how to import a file. The one thing that I really, really like about it is the connection with your Google Drive. If you want to browse and select from your computer, if you're using a HP app or a Dell or a Windows-based computer or an Apple, you can browse and find it from wherever source you have. So this is we did a newscast. So let's say I want to pull this in to my WeVideo from my downloads or my desktop. I can open that up, and then you see that it's importing. and you see progress. And sometimes with your video, the video files are quite large. And so the good thing about WeVideo is you get 100 gig of storage that you can add to your files, and that's plenty. Right now, I have about 200 licenses for my students, and they're uploading things every day, all the time, and it's been fine now. So there's sometimes I've got to go through there and delete, but that's typically after months at a time. So that is the process of uploading footage. So to add members, I know that's going to be a question. There's several ways you can add members. A really easy way to do it is the invite code. So as an administrator of your WeVideo, here's all the members that I have. Now I've got several students in there, so I won't click on that, but just to show you the process, you can click on the members and add the members, but the PowerPoint, or excuse me, the Google slide will show you that process as you go through it. It's pretty much self-explanatory to do so. But what I wanted to pinpoint as well is if you want to create groups within your class, this is a great way. I know we really use our Kagan structures very heavily at our school. So if you want to modify your groups, and you all can, as a teacher in the classroom, you can be a part of that group to monitor what they're doing. You can also work with that within the group to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And the great thing about WeVideo, with a lot of students taking their Chromebooks home, is they can use it at home. They can all be on WeVideo at the same time, working in a group. So one thing that I would like to do in my class is I'll have someone do a voiceover, someone adds the music, someone will do the timeline, imports, and someone else can do transitions. So I try to split that up to help students within the group so they can all kind of learn the process together. So that's a really, really good benefit to using WeVideo. So I'll move on down to kind of the groups that I've created, and this is just a process in which you add the groups. It's very, very simplistic to use WeVideo as far as the process. They've made it very, very simple. So I would definitely not get overwhelmed, because there's a lot of help videos as well within the WeVideo. If you have any problems, you can always go to your help over here, to your help, and they've got all kinds of different type of resources. And there's times where, if you get stagnant within a project, you can even start the tutorial with the student of a step-by-step, and then they have the intro to media, intro to projects, shared projects, and all these types of different things to get inspired that they have implemented too. So they're very, again, it's user-friendly, and they work really well with their teachers. So moving on to the next part, we've briefly talked about webcam and screencasting and screen and webcam casting. We did that at the very beginning. So if you notice here, there's a project. It's called Horses in the Bluegrass as an example that I'm working with students. So a way that I would disseminate this project for my students is I've already started the project, and I'm going to go to edits, and I've already implemented some things. And this is a project that I'm doing that my daughter actually has a couple thoroughbreds, and she's working on some things as a junior at UK. And my son is also a junior at Frederick Douglass. So they're working together for me to be able to show students the process of doing a documentary. So we're doing a documentary project. So this is after all the implements of the video, imports, and things like that. Then this is a way, if I wanted to do a screencast of how to do the project in WeVideo using all my timelines and using my video timeline and my audio and my voiceover, this is the way to do it. So as we move on to the next part, this is where you get into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of WeVideo. When you talk about storyboard versus timeline view, basically all that is this is a timeline view where you see the video 1 and 2, video 3, audio 1, and voiceover. And that's because I've done a few things already. If you would like to go to the more or the easier to the storyboard view. If I switch to the storyboard view, it's a little bit more user-friendly to the student, where they can just drop and drag different things. So for example, if I wanted to pull in some horse media from that project, I could just drop it down and there it is. So it keeps it in more of a box form, if you will. So when students are working on different things, it's easier to just drop and drag. So I have my media. But I will say that when you're working with the storyboard view, it's a little more difficult to do overlays, and I'm going to show you what that is right now. I'm going to go back to my timeline view. When I say overlay per se, what I mean by that is, like, for example, in our class, we talk about branding all the time. So if a student's going to do a project, I want them to brand what they're doing. For example, when you watch a YouTube video and you see something on the bottom right, a logo that someone has because they're trying to promote what they're selling or promote their videos, I want them to promote themselves. So we always create using Adobe Spark or Google Drawing their own logo. So for example, if I wanted to brand my logo, I could pull that down, and let me move this down here to flip it around here. And by doing that, let me get over here. Let me make my scale. So what I've done here is I'm going to make my scale of my branding, and I'm going to place it right here at the bottom right. So that would be consistent of a student having their own little logo there that you would see. Click that out. Give me 1 second. I'm going to move the people here. There we go. So let me try that one more time. Give me 1 second here. All right. So typically, if you want something in your footage, the logo usually is on top, where the video is on the bottom, and that's just a rule of thumb. And then all I did was double click on that and pull the scale down, where it works very much like if you've ever worked with, well, Google Drawing or any other type of, even in Google Slides. So I'm going to save changes right there. So like if I want that logo for the whole video, then you can see that. So now what this is where it says Gabriella, that is a theme that I've used. So this is just for the purpose of this training. So that's a really good example of importing footage. So we're going to get into what I'm going to do. I'm going to start from scratch, and I'm going to go with a new edit, and just to kind of give you an idea. So here we are. We got a new edit. We went to just the new, and you can do new from template. You also can use templates for morning meetings, title of a book. You know, we do the CMS News sometimes. There's a lot of different things you can use per se to create a new template. But a lot of times kids like to do their own thing. They want to do their own custom version of a project. So the next thing you would do is go to My Media, and then you would import whatever you want. The one thing that I would recommend is always to organize your media. And what I mean by organizing your media is making sure that you have like different folders that you have designed. Like for example, this is a folder that, I mean, if you notice, I've got a ton of files in there and they can get lost. It's a lot of student work and things like that. But making sure, just like in your Google Drive, you would organize that the same way. So any video or document you want to upload, again, you go back to Google Drive, and I'm going to choose something from my WeVideo files. Let me throw some pictures in there. There's a PNG file, and that will go fairly quickly. And then let me grab a video from my same folder. And again, I really like how it connects to Google. So I'm going to put that one in there. Not sure what that one is. I need to sometimes it's good to organize that in Google Drive if you've got a ton of files like I do. So in this case, now we've got a picture and we've got a video footage going into WeVideo. So the great thing about this is all you have to do is you just drop it down to your timeline. Okay. And I'm going to close this tip out here. And what this is a theme that is used that I've chosen for this particular project. One thing that and so moving on to the next part of it, we've obviously talked about inserting media. Here's the video footage that I have that I worked with a student. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this one. So if I've got the same picture here and it's just going to the same picture, but what I need to do is I need to let me add a different picture so I can show you the process of adding transitions to the project using the timeline. And I'll just go with another still image here. Let me go here with picture there. And the reason I'm using pictures is because they typically don't take very long to import. That young man right there, he works really diligently in my class. So anyway, so I'm going to go from one image to another. Okay. And again, this is where it says Gabriella, 6th grade a reporter. I can use that as well to explain what I'm doing. So in this case, I'm going to go to my transitions. And typically, if I want to put them beside each other, I like to use crossfade. And I also use crossfade at the very beginning. And I'll use crossfade at the very end. So when you see that, it really comes in smooth. It blends in. And then it'll transition to the next feature there. And then it'll blend right back out. So that's the process of just adding the footage. Me personally, I like to use crossfade because I feel like it looks really good. But there's all kinds of transitions you can use. If you want to use curtains, it's very interesting. Kids really like that one because it's more of a cartoonic feel. And then there's also additional transitions you can use as well. So the next process is moving on to your audio. And this is one area that Jerry actually helped me with some things. There's a lot of stock footage where you can just drop into your audio. The one great thing about audio is if you don't want your audio to be quite as loud, for example, let's say I want to do a voiceover and I want my audio to drop down to where there's audio underneath my voice and the footage, then you can make that to where it's quite a bit more low in volume, where you can create your voiceover. Like, for example, if I want to do a narration and I'm going to narrate this, you can click the preview and, for example, it'll give me a 3, 2, 1, and I'll say, hey guys, this is Mr. McGuire. This is the next project we're going to do. I hope you like the video demonstration. And the great thing about that is once you get done with that, it automatically places it on the timeline right there underneath. So if you notice, the volume of the voiceover is quite a bit higher than the volume of the audio. So you can modify that right there as well to where you can have some footage underneath or some audio underneath with the footage. So that's a really good example of the process there with audio. Now, Ben Sound is a royalty-free website where you can grab footage, you can grab audio to use to just download. And there's a ton of footage or ton of music there that you can use with all different types of music and things like that. I know my students, they like the urban and groove. Sometimes I'll throw in some jazz. Sometimes I'll throw in some rock. So it depends on what the video calls for, based on what kind of music that I use. So that's the quick version of how to use WeVideo. The one last thing that I was going to share with everyone before we open it up for questions is the linking resources. Now, the one thing I like about this process is if I click on link resources, you can link anything that you have already done to a WeVideo project. For example, if I want to link a Google slide, a Google Doc, something using in the Google Classroom, then you can link anything you want there. So I want to go to my COVID files and, say I want to do, there's a slideshow of some sort. Wherever there's a slideshow that you have, or whatever the case may be, I have linked that to where I can actually use that, because a lot of times in Google Slides, you can add music to your Google slide and present that to the class. But this is a great way to do it as well, and add a few other things. You can do voiceover. It's really user friendly as far as doing that. So again, that's the quick how-to on using WeVideo. And so Jerry, I guess at this point we can open it up for questions for anyone that has any questions. I know that this is we have our S'mores newsletter for our nationals team. It's our exploratory team at Crawford. And so we use this as a video process. And this is Gabriella's wanting to stay there because it's a theme that I've chosen. But basically, this is a process in which we used to put on our newsletter with music and promoting students doing different things during NTI. So it's been a really good process to use WeVideo for students during NTI instruction.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the theme. Jeremy, you did a great job. There's a lot to know here. I was going to ask about the theme with Gabriella. How did you get that to show on every video that you have?
Well, the way that, let me go back to a new edit. I'm going to go to a new edit. Typically, if you go to themes, it has all these themes here that you can choose prior to doing the video. Or let's say I want to, let me grab some media here. Let me just I'll go back to my horse footage here. And so if I want to use a theme with this footage, if I choose Icy Blast, it gives you an example, or Sweet Flare, or any of the footage, depending on how that works or what you choose, it will give you a let me give you a theme here. Let's see if it works here. If I use this theme, typically when you use a theme from a new edit, it will have the transitions for you. It will open them up across the board as far as transitions, audio, and you can just put things in. So let me see if I can try that. Let me go with theme. Let me go down here to, let's say we'll go white wedding here. And that is not working for me. Let me go back out. Discard changes here. And because typically when using a theme, I believe I can, here we go. So let me choose I'm going to choose a template, say morning meeting. Okay, so once you choose that template, then that's the reason, that's why you get Gabriella that's there, where you can go in and change that based on the theme that you've chosen. So for example, this will have morning meeting, and I'm not sure why Gabriella is there. I believe that's probably a selection I've made before, but I can get rid of that fairly easy. But this is like, for example, if I wanted to drop something down in that place, I could. These are just ways to quickly give you transitions where you don't have to do it yourself, customize it. But you can also still customize this too, because if you notice, it's got text prompts where, in this case, you can say, as a teacher, good morning, class. But then you can put that's the text prompt, but then you can put your own video, right? Instead of her being right there, you can place your own video right there, right there. Let me move that over here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Gabriella wants to stay there for some reason. but typically she's not always there. But that's what that is that's kind of like that logo we talked about that will stay on the screen the whole time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's so many options here. I mean, with the text prompts and the titles and then the theme, there's a lot of different ways to get, information on your video and across the entire video. So that's really great.
for sure,
I like that. Well, I'm looking over the chat and I'm not seeing any questions. So we're going to open it up to everyone. If you want to unmute your mic, Jeremy's here to answer questions and he is the resident expert here today. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute or you can type in the chat room. Let's see. So Tanya is asking, will this be available next year or will this program stop being available after July 30th? So this is a paid version, right, Jeremy, for each of your kids? It's about $10.
This is, I will say that anyone can get the free version. They can get a free version of WeVideo through, I believe they said July 1, the next year. Still, you can get it for your students right now for free. You just have to reach out to WeVideo on their website and sign up. And basically, they just ask me how many licenses. I know that right now, Fayette County has given access to, if I'm not mistaken, Jerry, they've given access to all the teachers and students in the district. But you can still get that as a school teacher for your class. So if you have 100 kids, you ask for 100 license, and they will give that to you. But like I said before, it's literally $10 per license. So if you want to try it out next year, buy 10 licenses or buy 3 licenses for $30, and you get that for a year. And students can work in a group. The one drawback is that one student will have to log in using their email address. For example, let me go back here and I'll show you this process. When they log in, obviously you have to use your email address. So if you're working with a group, then one student will have to be the leader of that. So early on, when I was working a couple years ago, I'd have one student that is like the leader of the group. The problem you run into is if the student's absent, then they can't work in class.
Right.
And Julie said here, the minimum seat purchase is 30. If you're doing a big group, to get the $10 per group. I believe that's what she was saying. So
yeah. So we had some people pitch in and answer some questions here. It looks like this is going to be free until July 30th of this year. We can't really speak of how that will change typically after July 30th, but we expect them to go back to asking for a payment and some kind of price cost there. So, all right. Yeah, and Julie says many of the schools purchase this with STLP. And so if you are not an STLP teacher and your school needs somebody to do that, that's a great way to use some of those funds. We can think about that as well in the future too. So if you happen to be an STLP teacher, then this is a great way to use some of your funds as well. So.
And I know personally, as an STLP teacher at Crawford, we purchased quite a few licenses, and it really served us well in the regionals when we were in school. With one of the things we competed with was the news program, live footage, live video, and this was one thing that I didn't touch upon is there is a green screen option that is really, really cool to use with this. And it's very easy to use with the color keyer here. So if you had a green screen in the background, this is the process where you can use color keying to use any type of background. And it doesn't have to be a green screen. Kids are always asking me about that. It just has to be it could be a white screen or whatever t-shirt you're wearing. It doesn't need to be the same screen. So if I'm wearing a green t-shirt because our colors at Crawford are green, a lot of times we have to have a white background because the kids get lost, if that makes sense.
Well, I'll tell you what, if there's not any other questions, we will, let's see. So Julie had a question. So green screen feature will work for students now using this at home.
What I've told students with this is they make sure that whatever footage they're using, the color needs to be a little bit different, but yes, they can use the full function WeVideo process with that. I've had a few students to do that. All they do is they use their Chromebook camera. They video themselves to make sure that the background is just a flat color. And then all of these backgrounds can be used with green screens. Or this could be the background of when the student is talking, this could be the background behind them, as long as they use that color keyer option. And that's, it's real easy to do. You just drop it right there, and you have a footage of the student, and then you just use a color keyer option and change that. And I could probably show you that really quick if I could find. I don't know that I have a background with green screen. Let me see if I have any. I don't think I do, because the problem with that is if you don't have a flat background, it's going to manipulate a little bit differently. So
Carla is asking if enough schools will be interested in using this next year, would the district consider purchasing this at a reduced price? Carla, that's a great question. Typically, we look for a lot of schools using a product, for several or a couple years before they actually look in doing a district license. And again, a lot of that is through STLP funds, which is different than what the district would have its hands on. So different pots of money there. But we've done it before with a few things like Canvas and a few other products. So again, if there's a whole lot of people using it, then we can start asking that question for sure. All right. Well, Jerry, thank you so much for doing this. This was a great session. I enjoyed it.
Appreciate you guys coming on, and thank you, Jerry, for hosting. And if we need to have another one soon, then I'm up for it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we will get this recorded and we will post it on our archive site at the NTI website that we've been working on. And hopefully I will get that done later today, so you can look for it again tomorrow. If some of your colleagues missed out on the training, they can see the video recording that we have done here. So thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. See you guys. We'll go ahead and end the session. Take care.